it's good to be here. Actually, is it good to be here? I come to you from a place called Delhi. It's my home. It's the world's most polluted capital city in the world, where AQI goes off the charts very frequently. So much so that the existing equipment and technology is not even able to measure the peak AQI. The damage that it causes to our lungs is unparalleled. I mean, bronchitis, asthma, wheezing, sneezing, the kind of ailments that we are living, I don't think it's called living, if this is what living is today. But think about the tender developing lungs of your children. I don't think we have the stomach, you and I, to actually think or imagine the kind of damage that it is causing our kids. 1 in 3 children in Delhi have damaged lungs. 90% of children globally today actually breathe toxic air. 7 million is the number of deaths category under the category of air pollution. 1.2 million come from India. We are in the top 20 most polluted cities in the world. India pretty much has all of them. It's a catastrophe that we are facing. I am angry. I am sad. I am disappointed. I'm actually desperate for a breath right now. I'm suffocating. That's what every Delhiite probably, and a lot of you come from Delhi, would be facing this right now over the last couple of weeks. And that's why it's very, very important and relevant to talk about it on this day, because it's the Children's Day. Happy Children's Day. Or is it the choking Children's Day? Let me tell you or narrate a story of this boy growing up in Delhi in the 90s. A happy-go-lucky boy, was a Bollywood buff, loved the over-the-top movies, dances, sequences, enjoyed his sports as well, was pretty good at some of them. The weekdays was okay, where it was regular routine to go to the school along with his sister. The school was close by, and they came back home. The parents were working. They came from a lower middle class family, so the parents would come back by dinner time. So from the afternoon till the evening time, the boy, all of 6 years old, became the father figure to his sister. So a responsible child. The problem happened during the weekends, because during the weekends, it was travel to relatives' place, which would mostly happen by public transport, by buses, by auto rickshaws, and the smoke and fumes coming out of the exhaust pipes of these vehicles. There was smoke all around. He was red-eyed, teary-eyed, gasping for breath. It was always a chore to go out, especially during the weekends. Now, at the same time, he started playing sports as well. He actually started pursuing cricket with a dream to represent the country someday. Started moving up the ladder, underage cricket, district, then state. Like I said, wanted to represent the country, but soon would fall sick very, very frequently, and soon developed or was diagnosed with sinusitis and acute allergy to smoke. Playing outdoors literally became a chore, became cumbersome, and he couldn't do it. The dream to represent the country went up in that smoke-filled air. Was he never good enough, or was it the air? Would never know. Around the same time, actually just before this time, he did something that was unheard of. And I'm talking about before 2000s, because at that time, Diwali was all about celebration, was all about crackers at the time. And there was healthy competition between children and teenagers who will burst the maximum, loudest, most fancy crackers. And parents were generally involved as well. He knew that all of this smoke is not doing anything good for the environment or for his health. Not that there was any talk of climate change. Climate change wasn't necessarily mainstream at that time, but he started with his teary eyes. He actually developed a number as well. The eyes became weak. So he was like, something that I need to do, at least I shouldn't be a part of the problem. So he actually shunned crackers when he was 12, all of 12. I mean, even today, to tell kids to stop bursting crackers at 15, 16 is such a hassle. But that's what he decided to do at that time. But something also happened around the same time, which was the Delhi government came up with its multiple changes, multiple policy changes, which one of the major ones being introduction of CNG for all major public transport, and even to an extent, private transport as well. Suddenly the air became cleaner. Suddenly you could breathe again, and that felt nice. So a few years passed. The boy grew up as well, went on to do his graduation, somehow passed and scraped through that period, went on to do some good things in his corporate career. A few years earlier, he decided to give back to the country, to the environment, his two primary loves. And he started the Litter Free India movement, which combined fitness and running to fight the garbage crisis in the country. Over the last few years, a few major milestones being the government of India adopted the mission, and close to a crore people have participated in the movement. His dream to represent the country did come true as an ambassador of the fitness trend that he started a few years ago. Why did I tell you this story, ladies and gentlemen? That's because I want to give you hope, and that hope can lead to action. Because anger, yes, anger needs to be there, but that needs to actually culminate into action. And there is hope, and that hope needs to then be taken into action. And we'll talk about, because it's very important, going back to the pollution and the crisis, the catastrophe that we're facing in Delhi. Let's talk about COP26. Our leaders, our global leaders, spent weeks traveling in their private jets to go to Glasgow, where the AQI was less than 20. And here, for the last 2 weeks, we've been dealing with AQI, which is off the charts, more than 500 AQI consistently. I would say, let's bring everyone down here for the next COP to Delhi. Let them breathe in this air for a couple of days, and they would know that they won't survive for a week. And then that becomes emergency. Then people will actually start acting on it. But whenever we start pointing fingers at somebody, whoever it is, whether it's the global leaders or the authorities or our own government, you should always remember that we have a responsibility as well. So let's talk about what that responsibility is, or what can we do. Let's take Delhi as a pure example. Every year we go through this catastrophe, and we know there are 5 6 major pollution sources that needs to be addressed: vehicular pollution, industrial pollution, construction and dust, stubble burning, and deforestation. I think these are, let's stick to these 5. Let's talk about vehicular pollution first. You know, there's a machine which was built 500 years ago, which has 2 wheels and a handlebar, does tring tring, and actually fights climate change. It's the humble bicycle. That's something that you and I can actually adopt. And as per a survey, most Indian households today have a bicycle. So let's get the dust of those bicycles and try to cycle as much as possible, because majority of our trips, or at least half of our trips, are under 5 kilometers. Why can't we actually get on the saddle or actually walk towards whenever we're going for grocery shopping and something similar? Hemant also spoke about the electric vehicles. I think that's a very important thing. We're at the cusp, electric vehicle revolution. The analogy is that we were at the same place 70 years ago with respect to plastics. Plastics was at that time considered the boon that humanity needed, because it was giving us instant gratification, the convenience that we needed. It was one of the greatest inventions of our time, and within less than a century, it became the biggest catastrophe of our time. How did that happen? That happened because we never considered its waste. So when we talk about electric vehicles, when we talk about electric mobility, we should look at its waste and design the entire chain economy in a way that we can manage this waste responsibly, cut down on its waste, and maybe get to a place where we actually generate zero waste. So that's on vehicles. Then there's the industries. So industries, that's a catch-22 situation, because you and I probably cannot do a lot in that aspect. But what we can do is, hey, we chose a government in the state, at the center, who asked for our votes and who said they will give us clean air. Clean air is our right. The governments today have come up with GRAP, Graded Action Response Plan. So every time the AQI goes beyond a certain limit, there are certain actions that need to be taken. If it goes beyond 200 AQI, then these things shut down. Let's say the odd even rule comes into place. When it goes beyond 250, then these sort of industries shut down, so on and so forth. We were in this mess for the last 2 weeks and nobody did anything till the time the Supreme Court actually put a rap on the knuckles of our governments and said, put a lockdown for 2 days, and they went and came into action. So that's something that we need to be aware of. What is our right? And then we should ask for that right to be implemented 2 weeks ago and not today. Similar is with construction and dust. There's the next problem, which is stubble burning. Now, if you look at the landscape of Delhi NCR, especially in winters, what happens is that there's a dome-like structure that forms around Delhi NCR, and the climatic conditions do act around it, the Indo-Gangetic plain, where a lot of the heavy air, the moist air, with not a lot of winds, actually come from the northwest frontier, which makes this a dome-like structure, a complete vacuum, that everything comes from outside inside, but nothing goes outside, right? So everything that comes from outside and our own local pollution kind of stays here. So let's leave the climatic conditions aside, because Delhi or NCR is not the coldest place in the world. We know there are colder places out there. So let's stop hiding behind it and actually do something about, for example, stubble burning. There are solutions out there. There is technology out there, but are our governments, state and center, doing enough to incentivize and raise awareness among the stakeholders, which are primarily farmers, to incentivize them to better ways? Because it's killing them, killing their children, killing us, killing our children. So so let's talk about the elections, because that's an important thing whenever we talk about the government. Over the next couple of years, India will go through a massive round of elections around the state and center, almost all major states, and then the Lok Sabha elections happen in 2024. So when they come to you to ask for your votes, you ask for clean air first. That's your right, that's my right, that's everyone's right, that's our children's right. And before we talk about our other agendas, all the agendas, which is left, right, center, state, nation, religion, caste, creed, color, those agendas actually go down the drain if we don't have clean air to breathe. So that's the number one agenda that we should ask and fight for. And anybody who demonstrates that they can give us clean air every day should be the one that we should vote for, whoever it is, right? And the last thing being deforestation. Now, our government has actually pledged at COP26 that they will end deforestation in 2030. We don't have that much time. Let's talk about our neighboring state, Haryana, has just 2% forest cover. That is way lower than what it should be. So if there are no forests, if there are no trees, where will all the carbon emissions that we actually emit go to? So these are questions that need to be asked. These are things that we need to be aware of. But let me end my talk by saying that there is always hope, that we should probably be angry right now, but let's take that anger into action. There are certain things that we spoke about around the vehicles that we can do, and various other things that we can do to cut down on our emissions. For example, earlier next year, I am going to be cycling 7,500 kilometers across the country, called Ride for Change, where we will actually be asking people, or along with the governments, to create a cycling culture around them, especially in the top 20 cities. And that will really help cut down on our emissions and create smart cities. So that's something that we are planning to do next year. Along with that, what we need to finally do is, anything that we do around us, can we cut down on its waste? Can we cut down on our emissions? Any action, any thought that we do, we should end with zero emissions and zero waste. Is there a better way of doing it? With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for the opportunity.